Atlanta News First presents My Favorite Story of 2024.
Happy holidays. I'm Sean Gables.
And I'm Blair Miller. This is the time of year when we take a moment to reflect on the many stories we've covered this year and highlight the ones that have had a personal or profound effect on us.
We're going to tell you about our favorite stories a little later, but first, we begin with news anchor Tracy Hutchins and the story she treasured the most.
This year was all about paying it forward and blessings beyond belief for supporters of our St. Jude Dream Home giveaway campaign. That's why I was so moved by a Gwinnett County woman whose life changed because she supported the children of St. Jude.
Congratulations, Ellen and James. Welcome to your new home.
Oh, wow. Look at this. Oh, this is beautiful.
Absolutely.
Wow. A dream now realized for Ellen Peterson and her fiancé, James.
That's amazing.
The grand prize in the St. Jude Dream Home giveaway.
All the latest stuff.
A brand new home worth $675,000.
That's
That's new.
wow.
Built by the Providence Group and their generous partners.
Man, a lot went into this. This is beautiful.
Look at the details. Look at that.
Can now be hers to call
Wow.
her very own.
Oh, this will work for
Wow.
me. I like this. Oh, yeah.
I've never owned a home. I've been a renter for over 20 odd years. And this is mind-blowing.
It happened when Ellen bought a single ticket in the St. Jude Dream Home giveaway for $100.
My nephew touched my heart when I saw the stories over and over again.
To honor her nephew who had childhood leukemia.
And I said, well, it's August 1st, it's my birthday month. So let me do something to honor someone else on my birthday month.
Alpharetta, Georgia.
Divine
Ellen
intervention
Peterson.
continued for Ellen. The live Dream Home drawing on August 15th happened to be Ellen's birthday.
Because who thinks they're going to win something like this? Look at this.
But God already knew like that, especially for a birthday present.
Yeah, I mean,
Can't believe.
who does that happen to on your birthday? I mean, really. I feel like everyone who gave, who entered, they're also winners because of what they've done for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. That's just how I feel about it. Even it's a win-win. We couldn't have lost.
Because of viewers just like Ellen, our St. Jude Dream Home giveaway campaign raised more than $1.8 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital.
I'm Brittany Ford, and this is my favorite story. It really touched my heart. The Colonnade is a staple in the Atlanta community. You've probably seen it on a big-time movie scene or two. Now, the original owners were actually forced to close it, and two longtime patrons stepped up to save it. We were there for the big, grand reopening.
It's been full of memories for us for years.
The Colonnade restaurant is a second home to Paul Donahue and Louis Jeffries.
What we've seen and what we've experienced within our own families is this is a generational restaurant. You know, people grew up here coming with their parents or with their grandparents.
A place Jeffries dined at as a child and has continued to for the last 60 years.
It's a happy place. When you come in here, there's more laughter than anything else.
The longtime patrons were devastated to hear the restaurant was closing its doors after nearly 97 years of business. The announcement was made at the end of August, shortly after Donahue and Jeffries took action.
It just felt completely right. It was the right thing happening at the right time, and it felt so organic. We actually had talked about wouldn't it be fun to own the Colonnade a few years ago.
Signing papers as the new owners, they vowed to keep the restaurant's history alive. Donahue says there will be no changes to the venue, the staff, and of course, the famous fried chicken and chilled martinis.
This is just the food. It's like, it's Thursday night. Let's just go to the Colonnade and get some good fried chicken and have a nice strong drink from the bar.
Ensuring the memories live on for generations to come.
Keeping the tradition alive and getting her ready for the next chapter of her life.
Now, since the reopening, they have seen such an overwhelming demand. They have now extended lunch hours on Saturday.
I'm Brooks Baptiste, and one of my favorite stories this year was about repurposing running shoes. I spoke with the founder of Eco Sneakers just last month when I hosted and ran in the Mayor's 5K on the 5th runway at Atlanta's airport. And I was impressed by how this organization takes used running shoes and turns them into everything from stadium seats to sandals.
Here at the Eco Sneakers warehouse, there is one goal.
To repurpose shoes, sneakers, for people in need and then also to make sure that we keep them out of the landfills.
Executive Director Lynn McCrae says just tossing one pair of sneakers into the garbage could take years to melt down.
Maybe 80 to 100 years. It goes down into our ground, into our soil, and into our water, and then also it's into our streams and our rivers. And all those chemicals go right back into our bodies because what are we growing our vegetables in, right? Our soil.
Eco Sneakers founder Bobby Johnson says he started the company in 2015, surprisingly without a vision.
It's just something I did because it was the right thing to do. It felt right. I saw a homeless man that didn't have shoes, and I was just drawn to that opportunity to help him out. So I took the shoes off my feet and gave it to him.
He noticed a need, and after having a few conversations with people in his community, donations from local gyms, churches, and several organizations started pouring in.
Before you knew it, obstacle racing and 5Ks came along, and it's just snowball effect into where it is today.
In the past 9 years, Eco Sneakers has repurposed more than 700,000 pairs of shoes.
You drop a pair of shoes off, we get them clean. If they're not usable, we grind them up. We make them into a reusable material that we can put into things like bean bags, like stadium seating.
And even sandals.
So a lot of people may not understand that a shoe like this one could turn into a sandal like these two.
So what we do is we use the hard plastic from these sneakers, and that's actually made into these recycled and recyclable sandals.
Studies show it takes more than 2,000 gallons of water to make a single pair of sneakers. So when you donate to Eco Sneakers, you're also preserving water.
We're taking all of those chemicals out of the landfills, out of the water that we drink every day. And so we want to educate our children, we want to educate our adults to let them know that instead of throwing those sneakers away, they can actually be repurposed into something else and give them a second life.
Eco Sneakers is always accepting donations, so if you have a pair of used running shoes, we do have a link for you to donate on the free Atlanta News First app. I'm Brooks Baptiste, Atlanta News First.
Up next, a dream fulfilled. The Marietta father who put it all on the line to support his son's Olympic dream.
Plus, decades later, a student reunites with his favorite teacher.
You changed my life.
Why her elementary school classroom was the only place he felt safe.
Happy holidays, I'm Sawyer Bussey. This was my favorite story of 2024 because it was truly about the lasting impact one person can make in the life of another without even realizing it. They say people don't always remember you because of the things you do, that people remember you for the way you make them feel. They say those moments might be your legacy. For Ricky and Andrea, these words are true. This is 5th grade Ricky. He lived in poverty. He was shy, he didn't speak.
I am Andrea Dowdy, and 24 years ago, I was Ricky Lattimore's 5th grade teacher.
During that year, the lessons learned far exceeded the classroom.
What she did for me was change my life. I was ashamed of how it looked. I was ashamed of how I dressed. I was ashamed of how I smelled. I was ashamed because I was bullied. I was picked on. And I had to go into places where I wasn't protected. But there was one place that I was protected, and that was in Miss Dowdy's classroom.
More than 2 decades later, the two met again at a teacher training. They both attended as teachers. They were scheduled to be in different places that day, but ended up being in the same room.
I broke out in tears, and my words started to break, and I said, you were my 5th grade teacher. You changed my life. I'm Ricky Lattimore.
When he told me his first name, I instantly knew who he was.
She was the same Miss Dowdy he knew as a child, the same woman who helped him speak, who taught him to hold his head up despite the realities of poverty. She held his face in her hands. Sometimes it takes one moment to fly back into the shoes of your younger self, to see with clarity what you couldn't see before. The two are actually still in touch, and Ricky says he became a teacher because of Miss Dowdy.
I'm Joshua Skinner. In a year covering the wild, wacky, and often unusual aspects of Atlanta, it's no surprise that my favorite story of 2024 is about a dog. a dog that helps children and families through the darkest of nights, helping make their holiday seasons just a little brighter.
She wanders the Ronald McDonald House daily.
What are you doing, huh? Where you been?
Her name is Betty Lou, the house's chief happiness officer.
Shay?
She's so popular in these parts. She's also getting her own book.
This is Betty Lou Tours America. It's a children's picture book.
Author Matthew Eldridge.
If you've met Betty Lou, she is the best certified therapy dog that there is in the business.
In the book, Betty Lou travels to Ronald McDonald houses across the U.S. helping sick children. From playing jazz in New Orleans, to skiing in Colorado, to riding horses in Texas. It's fictional, but Betty Lou's impact is not, nor is it just for children.
And I actually have kind of a stressful day going on here, so this is very, very good for me.
Molly Anderson and her family are guests here.
Should we give her a hug? I do. I want to give her a hug. Oh my goodness.
Betty Lou provides a measure of calm reassurance to people whose lives are anything but. Eldridge would know.
My wife actually almost died giving birth, so she was in ICU. My son was in the CICU.
That's how he met Betty Lou 7 years ago.
My son had 3 consecutive open heart surgeries.
And so you see the last chapter, this one here, it isn't fiction.
Last chapter of the book, she helps my son heal so that he can be home for Christmas.
True story.
And we were able to make that goal.
And who knows, maybe next time, Betty Lou will travel the world.
How much fun would that be?
Betty Lou Tours America is available at Ronald McDonald houses across the United States. And do keep an eye out for that sequel.
Happy holidays, I'm Blake Devine. One of my favorite stories of 2024 is about a father and son from Marietta whose Olympic dreams became reality this summer.
With each powerful push, a father and son have their eyes on the prize. Hampton Morris is an Olympic weightlifter who's coached by his father, Trip.
My dad has been my coach the entire time I've been weightlifting.
As the Marietta native kept growing stronger, sliding more weight on the bar, Trip took his training to another level.
It was clear that nobody was going to pick this up in a way that it needed to be picked up, so I started doing it.
A first-time Olympian and a first-time Olympic coach.
I think he's done a pretty good job, but then we've also had to learn together how each other thinks.
I've been able to learn something on my own. It's not hard because my motivator is my son.
We're at Hampton's home here in Marietta, where his family gave up their garage, converting it into an Olympic gym.
My family really has given up a lot of just time, money, and energy to make my Olympic dreams a reality.
At the Weightlifting World Cup in Thailand this spring, Morris found out he'd clinched his ticket to Paris.
I was really excited about it. I was trying not to spend too much energy focusing on that because I still had to compete.
The 20-year-old then rewrote history, breaking a world record in the clean and jerk.
I find that pride is more in this room when he's training, or maybe just as much as whenever he breaks a record or wins a medal.
Hampton can't wait to show his strength at the Olympics. Sharing this experience with a man who's been by his side since day one.
I really feel like it represents all the hard work, all the sacrifices I've made for the sport.
Morris ended up winning a bronze medal in Paris, the first American weightlifter to take home an Olympic medal in 4 decades.
Now it's time to tell our stories. And Sean, one of my favorites from this year is one of inspiration and bravery. We're talking about mental illness, and it's sometimes very hard to address. One of our colleagues here at Atlanta News First sat down with me in a bold move to help others.
My name is Sawyer Bussey.
Sawyer Bussey.
This tragedy is so hard to comprehend.
This is how you usually see her.
Drake was able to grab the steering wheel and drive the two to safety.
3, 2, 1.
Telling the joyful
It is the little steps that make a big difference.
and usually powerful stories of others.
I feel nervous. This is not normal for me. I'm on that side normally.
But not today. Sawyer has her own story to tell that's deeply personal.
My symptoms started showing up when I was in my 20s. I was making a lot of decisions that felt like I was out of my body, like decisions that I didn't recognize as my own decisions.
Decisions that kept showing up, along with severe mood swings. She says life was unbearable.
How bad did it get for you?
I was flirting with death. I couldn't handle it. I could not handle it. It's what almost resulted in my dying of suicide a couple of years ago.
She spent 8 days in the hospital. Months later, it was her boyfriend who encouraged her to see another psychiatrist.
He said, Sawyer, I think you have bipolar 1. And if you don't start taking the medication I'm going to prescribe to you, you're probably going to be in the hospital within a couple of weeks.
Sawyer eventually listened to that doctor.
Good girl.
Today, she still has episodes, but her world is now carefully planned out every day. Meditation, therapy, medication, and breathing exercises, all while she meets the high stress of daily deadlines as a TV news reporter.
So today I want to talk a little bit about medication.
On social media, she documents all of it, the good days and the bad.
I want this video to be the start of a conversation.
Her way of helping others in a way she once so desperately needed.
I am trying to be who I needed. And I needed so badly for somebody who had everything to lose to say that they had this and that it was possible. I don't know the long-term repercussions of this. I mean, there's so much stigma around this illness. I have no idea how this is going to affect my future.
A future where the deep questions don't go away, but are managed in a way that allows Sawyer to tell a new story.
It's so important to me right now to have somebody watching who's recently diagnosed, who realizes that they can still dream.
Sawyer says it was the NAMI group that played truly a critical role in her recovery. She went to their support group, and that's when she realized she's not alone.
Most of you know I am a huge fan of women's volleyball, and I loved introducing you to a small-town Georgia coach who knew nothing about the sport but studied a book called Volleyball for Dummies, and the rest is history. If it weren't for Sandy Creek students and their supportive fan base on both the volleyball court and online, very few would have any clue about the trailblazing coach who just made Georgia history.
I can remember my mom calling me. She's crying. She's like, oh, my baby, like you'll forever be known in Georgia.
Sandy Creek's Tashay Lewis is the second ever black female to lead a high school volleyball team to a state championship in Georgia.
I may have been a little numb at the time because it is an accomplishment.
A lot of people didn't want us to win just because they knew we were going to make history.
But her path to victory is darn near legendary.
I told them I didn't know anything about volleyball.
The former pro basketball player came to Sandy Creek to coach basketball. But the position required she also inherit a sport she had never, ever played.
I bought a book. It was Volleyball for Dummies.
With no contacts, no institutional knowledge, and no real credentials, support in the beginning was almost nil. Yet the wins continued to rack up.
And I'm glad we got her.
Year one, Coach Lewis took Sandy Creek's varsity volleyball team to the state championship, finishing runner-up. Year two, they lost in the Final Four. Year three, they won the whole kit and caboodle, and Lewis won Coach of the Year. Accolades that would jettison any coach to a higher level. Yet Lewis fielded not one single offer.
I don't know if African Americans are really accepted yet totally in volleyball.
Diversity in volleyball has a long way to go. Data released by the NCAA from 2011 through 2020, white males and females make up 81.7% of collegiate volleyball head coaches and 78.7% assistants. But black men and women only made up 7.2% of head coaches and 6.8% of assistants. The numbers are even fewer at the high school level.
I mean, there was a lot of adversity that I even saw, coaching here in high school.
Now Sandy Creek is hoping to capitalize on Lewis's black girl magic, convincing her to coach volleyball for one more year before returning to basketball full time.
Coach Lewis and the Patriots did not have the magical season they wanted, no back-to-back championship, but they did make it to the Elite Eight before they were defeated. Coach Lewis has since left volleyball and is now coaching basketball full-time.
Thanks so much for joining us. We hope we have inspired, enlightened, and entertained you with our most favorite stories of 2024.
We wish you a safe and happy holiday. Be kind to one another and spread joy.